Sports are filled with superstition, and racing is no exception. Though it's a cliche, the number 13 is still seen as bad luck. But for our hopefuls fighting for the title, it's going to be lucky number 13 this time around. Let's get ready for the PCA Sim Racing Series 13 Sport Class, and you'll see it all live here on RaceSpotTV. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is Mike Naus. And behind the scenes is our director, Ramiro Cisneros. Also, we're thrilled to have Princess Cruises as the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships, sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. Also, PCA is proud to announce that they are celebrating their 70th anniversary in 2025. Here's to many more decades with North America's largest Porsche enthusiast group. Now, if we take a look at the schedule for this season here, Mike, they've got some pretty good ones to celebrate this 70th year with.
We certainly do. And up first, it is Daytona. As always, we've had it 3 times now throughout the 3 various championships taking part. This is the 4th one for the challenge. Up next, we head down to Portimao for Portugal. And up next, the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. After that, we go to more traditional circuits that you might know and love. Silverstone, Road America, going to round 5, Hungaroring round 6, and Imola, bringing home round 7 for Italy on April 10th.
Now, for this track, if you're not familiar, well, it uses the oval that most people are probably way more familiar with here at Daytona. But the road course has quite a bit of history, especially with sports cars. This 3.5-mile road course sees 12 turns, but the biggest factor out there is the banking, the oval portion that you see that they run on. It is super fast. You are flat to the floor that entire time. It makes for a lot of draft racing. Packs tend to form and could prove to provide some fuel-saving strategies. We'll see if anybody tries to use that here today, as we actually have the qualifying already taking place. Not as important here, but as we've seen in the previous 3, Mike, it is important to at least start near the front so that you don't lose touch with that top group.
It certainly is. With the pack-style racing that you have at Daytona, it's more reminiscent of a NASCAR race than it is almost your GT3s or your hypercars. This lap here from Arthur Schwartz, maybe a little on the invalid side, overcooking it through 6 and 7. The most important corner complex is pretty much on this track. This here being the second. This is where you can get it all wrong, Joe, or you can certainly get it all right.
Lace coming out of it and getting back on the throttle here as he comes around to try and complete his lap. This is his second of 3. They're allowed 3 total laps to get a time in. Beyond that, then anything that they do does not count. But you can't have a lap deleted if you go beyond the track limits out there. So you have to stay within those boundaries. Both of his laps have counted. Unfortunately, not improved on that second time. He's trying to chase down Josh Jeppesen, who is our current provisional pole sitter, by about 0.5 of a second.
There we see the likes here of Alan, I think, in VR. Love to see the VR headset there taking part. Thrustmaster equipment there in the background as well. Lap times at the top right now, 1:45.9. That's the time to beat. And all these drivers pretty much down on their final lap. And well, as I'm talking there, a 1:45.7 from Johan Nye, smashing the door wide open there. 1/10 is the gap now separating the top 2.
Jeppesen's got some work to do. He is on his final flying lap. This is George Poulos. This is one of 5 cars that haven't set a time, and unfortunately, that one won't count for him. That was his last attempt, so George is going to have to start from the back of the field, since that lap is going to get deleted with him going outside of the boundaries. Not that it would really do him much good at this stage anyways with that spin. Stevenson, Garamani, Hammond, and Holland are the others that were waiting to put a time on the board as we've hopped on board with Anthony DiVincenzo here.
And going through 6 and 7, the most important corners here, getting on the throttle as early as possible. That corner is the definition of slow in and fast out. If you end up overcooking it, going wide there on the banking, you can lose not just tenths, you can lose positions when you're in the actual race session itself. Here in qualifying, not too worried about it. Now, maximize the curbage, get as far right as you can, chuck it into the Le Mans chicane, use all of the curbs here, and early on the accelerator, the back end there with a Porsche rear engine 5.2, just wanting to turn around, but muscling it under control. Anthony, it's looking like a solid lap here.
Yeah, I'm showing him improving by, wow, he's kind of tipping around 0.8 of a second there for a brief moment. Let's see if that's accurate, because this would launch him well up the field. It's his last lap, and it's a 46.3. Yes, that is excellent. That'll put him into 11th place. He needed that one.
Certainly does, and what a brilliant Sector 3 it looked like as well. Taking a look at Britt Danley in third position, 3.5 tenths to the good right now, and this is going to be the final attempt. We've seen different lap times throughout each of the championships, starting, of course, with the Pro. We were seeing in the 143.6s, the club class, 144.2 was the fastest lap in quali sport, 44.9, and here we're seeing mid-45s, about the benchmarkers for the challenge class.
That's about what we expected. They do a good job of really kind of putting everybody where they'd be close in pace to one another. So while there might be some overlap between them, there is still a grouping that is nice and tightly packed amongst themselves. So Britt down to the line as the number 10 tries to go quicker, about 0.3 to make up to get to the pole. Is it going to be enough? No, that lap got deleted, did not count. So third is the best we'll see for that 10 machine. Here's Adam Holland in the Rexy machine with enough time, I think maybe. Yeah, I think it's going to be close, but should be able to get to the line to complete this second lap, but no more than that.
And this will be more than likely the final lap of qualifying as well. 36 seconds left. And once that bell tolls, the qualifying is over. It is not like a traditional GT qualifying where you get the the checkered flag that falls and you get to complete a lap if you are on one. Nope. You have to make it within the time that you're given. And Adam here going to be just sneaking in and heading towards the line now. We need to see an improvement. 147, 48. Oh, not quite what he's looking for.
No, he improved, but I don't think he gained any positions on the tower. And that is it for our timing. Qualifying is officially over, and the grid is set for the last of our Daytona races here in Series 13. The challenge class sees Dave Douglas start on the top spot. Johan Nye will be next in P2. Then it's Stephen Danley in the third position, followed by Alan Hales in P4. Row 3 has Josh Jeppesen shuffled down to 5th in the end. He was up higher than that for quite a while. Robert Belay in P6. Antonio De Silva starts 7th, followed by Aubrey Ayer in P8. Then it's Ed Trippett in the 9th position, and Jeffrey Block will round out your top 10. DiVincenzo with his last lap jumped up to 11th, and then 12th Mike will see Andrew Hillman starting on the outside of row 6.
13th belonging here to Patricio Torrengina in 13th there with George Daniels alongside in 14th. Kevin Hammond in 15th with Jim Guremian, my apologies on any mispronunciations, in 16th. Lisa Eckridge in 17th with Rob Growning in 18th. And down here onto row 9 and 10, we have Jack Stevens and Adam Holland rounding out your top 20. Arthur Schwartz in 21st, Andy McGinn in 22nd, 23rd belonging to Carl Bess, and last but not least, 24th belonging to George Paulus, who did not get a lap set within the time.
No, they're now in the warm-up session. This won't mean much of anything except a little bit of extra practice for the drivers. They do have race control talking to them. Every of the classes has live race control in PCA on their sim races to make sure that everybody behaves, and they will hand out penalties if they find you breaching the rules out there. So watch out for that, because there has been a couple rule changes. Big one is that the blue flag rules are a lot stricter now. If the gap is less than 1 second, then you have 3 corners to let the car lapping you by. And then the other thing is they have no drive-through penalty at 17 incidents like they used to. If you reach 17 incidents, nothing happens. But when you get to 25, just like before, you're still disqualified. So there's no warning this time around for the drivers to kind of let them know that they're getting close to that. It's just you hit 25, Mike, and then you're gone.
We've seen that, unfortunately, a few times throughout each of the categories, and hopefully tonight drivers are going to be on their best behavior, trying to keep it within the reins, of course, but there is bound to be contact. That's the nature of racing, and we are here to see every second of it.
Trizio Torrigiani sporting very Italian colors, which makes sense, honestly, because he actually grew up in Italy. But his love of Porsches comes from a car that his dad owned, actually. Had a 911 growing up, so kind of instilled that love in him and has been really into them ever since. We'll see how he performs today, though, as he's got to show that he doesn't just enjoy the cars visually, but can drive them around here, as we've got just about, looks like a minute and a half, rather, left here in the warm-up, and then by the time we grid, the sun will just about be beyond the horizon. We're in the midst of sunset right now here at Daytona.
You know, one thing I wanted to mention here as well, of course, is the fact that we have the 7-round championship ahead of us. Round 1, you often mention there, Joe, one of the pinnacle tracks to start out on the Daytona road course, and next week looking at Portimao. Now, with the amount of points that are on offer in Series 13 here, first position is getting 350 points to their name. Now, that's a lot of points, of course, for everybody, and everyone gets a haul of points. However, that means the drop-off is steep. And in these championships, where you only have 7 rounds, 1 drop round, of course, but you still have to make every single round matter. And with that many points, the difference between first and 15th is nearly half.
Yeah, that it really does drive home that you can't afford to have a bad day. You need to bring it home for the points. So if you can't take a win, you might as well take second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever you can, rather than falling all the way back to the tail end of the field, where it will hurt, no doubt. So they do have 1 drop week as well, as is traditional in PCA sim racing, but you don't want to use that one up too early, that's for sure. As we watch the 199 head around the banking and onto the back stretch. Now, we saw in each of the other splits as well, we saw some of the fuel saving that we've been alluding to. So don't be surprised if we see a few trains maybe forming throughout this race, and drivers maybe playing it patient, giving it time before they truly attack. But doesn't mean that we'll be lacking action out on track, because there are those that are going to be out of position that no doubt will have to climb their way through.
Of course, starting in the mid-pack, some very prominent drivers potentially. I did want to mention as well, of course, back in Series 12, we did have 3 winners in the championship: Aaron Sunday, Brian Stern, and Will Wolfe. None of those names, unfortunately, taking part here tonight. Hopefully we do see them, I think, in other championships as well. So seeing that, of course, the grid here, getting ready to grid, and the conditions, 68 degrees Fahrenheit with about 68 degrees track temp as well. Partially cloudy, not quite like last night where we had a very foggy one, and quite the humid conditions as well.
Yeah, interesting thing about Sunday is he got promoted up to the sport class. So he raced last night, came away with a podium, but not a win. So he's made that transition quite well over there. Thankfully, yeah, lacking the fog here this evening, so we at least get some beautiful views just as we take the green flag for the Challenge Series. And it's back to the pros next week, like you said, as we go to Portimao. I'm very curious how that's going to go, because that's a newer track, and I'll have to double check. I think that might be the first time that track shows up here for PCA.
a very flat track, a motorcycle-centric track, of course, that the final round of the MotoGP Championship has taken part on plenty of times, meaning that there's not much curbs. And here in these Porsche Cup cars, it's going to be very welcome. These are some stiff beasts when it comes to the suspension. Not much give, and all of it is going to be felt through the driver's spine.
No doubt, and we saw at least one driver on lap 1 in the sport class lose it due to the curbs here at Daytona. So you got to really make sure and be careful on those colder tires. Here we go. Pace car getting to give way and give control over to Dave Douglas. He is not allowed to accelerate until he gets the call from the flag stand. He waits patiently, and there it is. Green flag is out. Oh my goodness, he gets a huge jump. Second place did not go. Johan Nye falls back to third almost immediately. He might be under threat from Jeppesen. In fact, Jeppesen outbreaks him easily into turn 1. So from second to fourth to now fifth for Johan Nye, it's a disastrous start.
Plummeting through the ranks like a stone in the Marianas Trench, just trying to hold on. Johan managing to settle it, though, down into fifth. Dave Douglas got away like a cannon there through the first corner. Stefan Danley behind. Look at the squabbling cars getting sent off there into the grass in the midfield. Everybody else still 2 by 2 as they try to negotiate through the horseshoes.
It's Torrigiani that we saw off track in the International Horseshoe. Unfortunate way to start off the series for him, but now he gets to try and make some overtakes if he's got the speed. Meanwhile, still some battling coming out of the Western Horseshoe in the mid-pack. Big dive down the inside. I think that was Kevin Hammond in the 20 car. He's going to get that position, and that'll be 11th for him.
Nicely done. Now everyone's settling in on the banking. This is when you got time to check your mirrors, check your dials, listen to the car. How is it sounding? And what exactly is your plan moving forward? What's the car behind you's plan? Is the number 10 here of Danley looking very aggressive in the mirrors of Douglas. You don't really want to be sending it into the Le Mans chicane. However, on the exit there, Dave Douglas, again, very solid when it comes to getting onto the loud pedal.
Absolutely. He's trying to run away, but he's bringing Danley with him. They have gapped Jeppesen a bit early on. Poor Johan Nye already dropping back. So what happened to Torrigiani? It was hard to tell from that angle. Did he get some help or?
I'm not sure either. It looked like he just kind of got bottlenecked up and maybe stabbed at the brakes a couple times, misjudged it, maybe got a tap from the rear, but there was no tap whatsoever. Dave Douglas round.
He finds an opening to get going. He's very lucky. I thought he was going to have to wait till the very back of the pack before he can accelerate away, but the damage is done. He's down to 10th. Make it 11th as Hammond tries to overtake down into the International Horseshoe, and it does look like he's able to make that one stick. So nicely done by Kevin once again. We saw this one live as it happened. Rear of the car just fully came around. I wonder if the tires weren't completely up to temperature.
I think it was a combination of that being the tires not the temperature, as you're saying, but also the fact that the first corner is one of those, it's a tricky one coming off the banking. You're trying to fight the car when it's, oh, there's a car around, I think, in the background as well. But you're trying to fight the car, trying to get it straight, and it's constantly trying to understeer around. In the Porsche, being rear engine, it has a tendency to loop around if you are trying to overload that car. And I think that's exactly what we saw, unfortunately, from Douglas, and the resulting drop in positions is all the way down to 11th, 10 positions lost.
So Jeppesen now has the lead and a gap over Stephen Danley, who's the next car back. Antonio De Silva up to third. Johan Nye gets at least fourth back, but that's going to be a little crumb of comfort knowing that he could have been holding on to the leader and could have been leading if he had held on to that second place up until the spin from our former leader back there. Saw a problem with George Poulos as well on my timing tower. He dropped down the order. We're going to check out Rob Gerwing, who seems to have lost control. I think that was coming out of the Western Horseshoe there before eventually he gets it turned back around, and he's on his way, but he falls to the back.
Yeah, it looks slightly assisted there, unfortunately, and just a bit of a miscalculation in either way. Luckily, no damage to be picked up. The drivers looking at the pit stops, well, they will have to make a stop here for fuel more than likely. Tires, maybe not so. And we're going to be expecting that somewhere around the halfway point, but more than likely around the 20-minute left in the race mark. Coming from the pro category, they started at 30 minutes, and then they sort of just trickled in from there. There wasn't a mad dash into pit lane like I would have expected.
Yeah, the latest we've seen anybody go is somewhere in the realm of about 21 to 20 minutes left on the clock. So it's a much narrower window compared to last series, as that's what happened to George Poulos. To explain why he fell back down the order. So 192, another victim of the Le Mans chicane, of which we've seen many in this first event.
And I'm sure we will see more to come throughout, as it is a really, really difficult corner complex to get correct. Such a high speed, high commitment, and just on the limit. And when you have a corner that's on that nature, it's very easy just to go 101% in, and unfortunately your car isn't going to be 100% coming out.
So following Johan Nye here, he's in the orange and black machine that you see on your screen. He's about a second behind. What happened to George Janellis, though? This is down into turn one, where we saw the former leader spin, and instead of spinning to the outside, like Dave Douglas did, George went to the inside and discovered there's a concrete wall there.
Very much not the racing line, just being very patient as well to get it spun back around. Not quite getting it there the first time, but immediately onto, or eventually getting it back right onto the circuit. And there's the 141 on your screen as they have plummeted down towards, where have they gone down to?
That's fourth place. So,
oh, my apologies. Similar liveries.
Oh, whoa, look at this though. Holy cow. This is coming off of the International Horseshoe, where we've got a Noah's Ark of cars 2x2, but it looks like they'll single file out as they head through the kink. That's Kevin Hammond getting in another position, now up to ninth for him. Dave Douglas trying to get one back, but no dice. Anthony DiVincenzo over Ed Trippett for the 11th position. They've also got Jeff Block and Jim Garamani in there. So here's Kevin Hammond. Did he have an issue? Oh, he came upon somebody who was having a little bit of a hiccup. So that's why Dave got a chance to try and pass him. And he got the spot earlier on than when we picked it up, apparently.
Great reactions, though, from Hammond, just trying to really keep the cars behind at bay and not letting Dave Douglas any semblance of a chance to get on by, despite the fact that he had to run so far offline, probably pick up some marbles. He's really being a cork in the bottle right now for everybody else. Looking at DiVincenzo in 11th. Also, you mentioned Edward Trippett. Trippett, excuse me. He is just waiting in the background as well. But we're starting to see some packs forming in the front as well as in the middle here. Various battle packs and all the way throughout the field. Here we go, though. Around the outside goes the 42.
Douglas is not interested in sitting back and saving fuel. He wants to make up positions, knowing he could be leading this race, but he's not going to get this one back. Kevin denies him. He has to shut the door even on Anthony before he's able to get his foot through.
This is so frustrating, and you can even see it in the body language there. The 42 back down to the inside. Douglas not taking no for an answer. The 20, Hammond runs a little bit wide there, side by side as they go back down towards the second horseshoe, and without any delay, Dave Douglas gets the job done.
Looks like we got our first penalty, as Andrew Hillman was given a black flag for contact with the 13. And so Jim Garamani now suddenly going backwards on the timing tower as well. Here is Andrew Hillman in the number 9 car, currently running in 8th position. So this one's going to hurt. This will absolutely drop him outside that top 10 very quickly.
Yeah, and certainly, well, we mentioned earlier, the points are so crucial. You do not want to be taking your drop round early, and with so many rounds left in this championship. Here we have 2 battles on your screen right now. Those are the 2 packs that I was mentioning that have sort of formed. The pack for 4th, the pack for 9th, and there's still a few more behind that as well. A little bit of miscommunications in the Le Mans chicane. Is that going to amount to anything? No.
Yeah, that was Anthony getting the spot over Kevin. So move the 420 car up into 10th position behind them. We see a move maybe from Jeff Block because he's getting close to Trippett now. He's got a good bit of momentum. I'm not sure if he is interested in taking it. No, he starts to slow back up as, here we go. Had a little bit of a fight between Alan Hales and Johan Nye. He almost lost another position while Aubrey Iyer watches in the number 5.
Also, Gallus there in the background, just waiting for his chance as well. Let's see, though, the 5 here of Aubrey, just waiting for the chance here. Not too many opportunities to open up in the mid-sector. You can see the patient sort of posturing, the telegraphing that these cars are doing. The Porsches in these mid-sectors, you can either go full send baseball or you can play it a little safer. Wait for the strategic play. Let the drivers ahead of you use more fuel, as of course the slipstream is accumulative, so there will be a bit more saving for Aubrey here than the drivers in front. They have to punch just a little bit more of a hole in the air.
Yeah, which will certainly chew up the fuel a bit quicker as well. So some drivers might allow others by in hopes of stepping in behind them. We'll wait and see. Some do prefer to be the lead car, and there have been plenty that have actually used that to good effect, just with their own sheer raw pace, overcame the fuel disadvantage and came out ahead after the pit stops. But we got a ways to go before we get to there. We're only 10 minutes, just about 11 minutes into this thing. So a long ways left in this race.
Yeah, and I mean, just talking about when it comes to fuel once more before we do, we had, of course, that Bryce Rodriguez and Robbie Prescott battle in the pro category that we had the pleasure of viewing. And with the fuel playing such a massive variable in that, Rodriguez ran out of fuel to the line chasing down his competitor. And he may or may not have had the win. He probably would have, but didn't get it because of that slight miscalculation. Loving the onboard shots as well. Looking at all of the various setups the drivers have, the various equipment, Fanatec wheels, Thrustmaster wheels, Simicubes, and all the sorts here. All the drivers, an excellent job on circuit right now.
Yeah, things starting to settle in, it looks like. Is that Hillman? Yep, that's Hillman that just took his penalty, and looks like he'll emerge somewhere around 19th or 20th. Back out on track. Oh, we got a car off. Ed Trippett now finding himself falling to 14th, maybe 15th. I think that's Lisa Eskridge sneaking by, thinking about it, then maybe backing off, not willing to risk it, going side by side through the kink. We return to Johan Nye, who is still the leader of this next group. They've got Jeppesen and Danley up at the front. De Silva's all on his lonesome, and Johan Nye leads Alan Hales, Aubrey Iyer, and Robert Velez in behind him. And, Trippett got help again. Remember, he was involved in the other incident before that gave a penalty to Hillman, so it's a rough day for the 13 car.
Certainly one to forget, unfortunately. Daytona not working out all that well. Be looking forward to Portimao, I'm sure. Now, looking at this pack once more, De Silva is a name that you mentioned that I haven't even considered, to be completely honest. Sort of a dark horse in this equation. He started back in 7th position. That was quite the impact there on the exit of Le Mans chicane for Andy. And definitely the engineer is going to have him be getting the sledgehammers out to repair that one.
See a few different lines coming down into turn 1. Johan Nye continuing to have to defend as Hales does look quick, but just can't seem to do anything with it for the time being. Iyer and Galais just kind of watching. Oh, that's way wide for Aubrey Iyer in the background there. It almost gives an opportunity for Robert to sneak on by, but could not quite make it stick. So back they go through the infield once again. Nye still sitting in 4th, but continuing to lose time to De Silva. It's about 2.3 seconds up to the podium position.
Now, I've been keeping a little close eye on our lead battle as well, because Joshua Jeppesen and Stefan Danley haven't really left each other for the most part. They're still within a second, and whoa, Jeffrey Block! That is a overly exuberant look, and unfortunately, who was that got spun around there?
Hammond, I think.
Hammond, yeah, definitely no fault of Hammond's there. He did leave a gap, I suppose. However, I'm not sure there was enough room for a Porsche, maybe a Peel P50.
Yeah, Hammond wound up off at the side of the track, but we might see a penalty for that one. In fact, yeah, he was just given a penalty for contact with the 13. So he's got one that's completely unrelated to the contact with Kevin. So, oh, it is going to be an atrocious day for the 389. So we come back to Josh Jeppesen. Danley looks a little bit closer now, down to 0.3 of a second. You were mentioning this, that it seems like he's been reeling him in bit by bit, but he's playing the patient game for now. He knows that he doesn't have to do anything immediately.
Yeah, and that's kind of, this gap has been yo-yoing back and forth pretty much around the second, within a second mark. And as every now and then it comes down, here we see it to be a lot tighter than it actually has been in the past. It was pretty consistently 1 second for a while now. I'm wondering if Danley maybe feels that he has a little bit more pace than Jeppesen ahead. Looking at the previous lap times, 146.1 from Jeppesen and 146.2 from Danley. Fastest laps overall, 145.7 and a 145.4. So Danley with the theoretically more potential pace. And in Danley's mind, this hasn't lost my thought yet, is the fact that I think Danley knows that he should be leading this race. He got caught up with that incident earlier and he played it very passive. And as a result, yes, he made it out of that incident, but he lost the lead to Jeppesen. And I think he wants a little bit of vengeance. And let's see, is it going to be on this lap? Is it going to be the next? Or is it going to be at all?
By the way, that replay we saw, that sent Kevin down into pit lane, had to take his free repair. They do get one in this series to try and keep them out and racing, but now he's got to be careful because there's no safety net for the remaining 45 minutes, less than that even, in this race. Speaking of which, now's the time to mention that we're thrilled to have Princess Cruises as the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. Continue to follow the battle for the lead, which has been at a bit of a stalemate since we have joined it, but that doesn't mean that it is not tense inside those cars. Let's also get a glance here on the bottom of Johan Nye in the battle for P4, still being followed by Hales, Iyer, and Galais. They have not dropped off of him.
No, pretty much no changes in the mid-pack right now for the most part. Everyone being awfully patient. And the one thing I am noticing, though, is I think Danley is looking a lot more aggressive onto Jeppesen. Is it pace? Is it just maybe a bit of mind games as well? Maybe wanting Jeppesen to go a little quicker, use more of his tires and that fuel. Now, we don't really think that tires are going to be an issue whatsoever here at Daytona. You can see the long banking pretty much being about half the circuit, to be completely honest. The mid sectors not quite the most abrasive in general. There's 12 quarters here, 4 to the left and 8 to the right, and the banking being about 31 degrees all the way down to 18 on the tri-oval.
Speaking of racing on the oval portion, Robert gonna get by Aubrey Iyer. Nice out braking down into the Le Mans chicane. Not a place you usually want to have to pass, but man, did a great job just executing on that one and sized through.
Call it the highway to the danger zone, that is for certain, and we're maybe going to see that again here. Going into the first corner, though, for our leaders. Again, the stalemate here, we're playing chess at 200 miles an hour. That is why we're so just enthralled right now. At least I'm on this lead battle and just seeing exactly where anyone's going to place a wheel wrong. Who is going to crack like an egg first? Is it going to be Jeppesen? Is it going to be Danley? Again, looking at that battle for 6th as well. There's just action all over the place, Joe.
Yeah, like I said, even if some drivers aren't necessarily trying to pass one another, there will always be others that are using that highly effective draft here to try and leapfrog their way up through the field. As we watch those two, we're going to switch back, it looks like, to the 199. This is for 16th, Robert Gerwing. Wow, what a run back through. Remember, Robbie fell to the very back of the field, or at least very close to the back of the field early in the race. He's already to 16th.
Not a bad effort, carving his way through the field like a Thanksgiving turkey. Although right now the shoe is maybe on the other foot. He's under firm pressure from Stevenson behind. The 116 and the 199 looking to chop it up right now. But for now, you can look back at the lead battle. Jeppesen still ahead. There is the gap at about 2.5 tenths. That's a blink of an eye for anyone curious.
That's very close. He's got a great run. This might be the closest we've seen him in the entire race since perhaps the very beginning on lap 1. But either he stalls out or he chooses not to try an attack down into turn 1. There's some sort of lift going on up into the tri-oval. So he'll stay behind, but Jeppesen knows that that car behind him is able to save fuel, that is hovering around there. He knows he's there, so his mind is always going to be sending his eyes glancing at that mirror every once in a while, watching and waiting, making sure he doesn't strike.
And that is the whole mind game there. Jeppesen just trying to keep a calm, cool, collected head on his shoulders, and Britt just trying to get into the middle of it here, get in the mix and get the position in whatever way he can, whether it's fair. Well, hopefully it is fair. Of course, we do pride the extremely fair racing here at PCA. But of course, what I mean is whether it's going to be a couple flashes of the headlights, maybe a couple dummies to be sold to the inside or not, everything in racing here tonight is going to be on the cards. However, that gap extending once more back to 8 tenths. Jeppesen getting a very solid launch towards the Le Mans chicane and just extending that gap. I think, just a prediction, I think Britt is doing this intentionally. I think this is a bit just mind games, trying to get Jeppesen to overdrive his car, but you got to wake up pretty early in the morning to catch him out.
Yeah, definite mistake, though, coming out of turn 6, losing that much time onto the banking for Danley. But seems Britt is doing their best to try and at least hold on through that slipstream and stay within striking range, if not saving some fuel. Watching from Ed Trippett. Where is Ed at this stage, actually? P14, it looks like. So he's chasing on Andrew Hillman. That's the car you see in front of him. Hillman, after his penalty, again, impressed by how many drivers have managed to climb through the field. He's back up to 13th already.
And with 29 seconds spent in pit lane, how far off is he from the leader? He's actually only 37 seconds off. Andrew Hillman could have potentially been in for a shout in the podium cards at some point. Definitely a driver to keep an eye on in the up-and-coming rounds, no doubt. But back to that lead battle. This is an ever just toying back and forth. Again, yo-yo is the I think that's probably the best I could say. Aubrey here, what has happened? Unfortunately, here on lap 13, looks like we've found some strife and we found the off circuit.
Yeah, that was down into turn 1. Aubrey was facing the wrong way and got it turned around eventually, but falls to 12th position. That's another potential spot for Andrew Hillman, but that's about 4.5 seconds up the road. Here's what brought it about. Car very much leaning into the corner, and it did not like that as it completely loops 180. Doesn't hit the wall. Has to wait for an opening before at least 2 cars, it looks like, got by.
Very unfortunate, unforced error there for Aubrey, and just back on track and really shake off the mistakes here. In the front, though, both of these cars are currently planted like 500-year-old oak trees, and they don't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon, Joe.
Oh, and out of turn 6, Aubrey Iyer understeered completely into the tire barrier. Tries to get it going. Looks like the car can drive away from it, but having quite a time trying to find a clearing, get it back into first gear. There we go. Car is on its way. No doubt is going to have to make a visit to pit lane, and we are within the pit window at this stage, so Aubrey could take that spare car and not have to make a second stop.
Yeah, unfortunate. Not quite. They're just leaving a bit of a souvenir behind for the track marshals as well. But as you said, thankfully, they do have that fast repair, as these cars are not like Formula One. You don't just get a 7-second nose change. It takes a little bit more work if you don't have the fast repairs available, the extra car for you to jump out and get into the new one of. And this battle for first has spiced up in a way that I don't think either of us expected. Back markers playing a role.
Very early on as well. That was Andrew McCune, who did a very good job getting out of the way, while behind them, they should be approached by the next fight, the next train, with Johan Nye still leading Hales and delays. Looks like DiVincenzo was kind of dropped off of it. So it's gone from 4 down to 3 in that group for now. Update on Dave Douglas. He's in 9th, but he's catching up to Adam Holland, so he might have another position in front of him if he can stay with him and overtake on the number 144 there. So slowly but surely trying to get back to the front.
And Adam Holland about 9 seconds off the back of the pack for 4th as well. Everyone pretty close for down there. So if there is a bit of fighting in the mid-pack, it can certainly back things up and force a couple fights that we may not have expected. This going into the first corner, one of the closer chances for Danley, trying to set up potential switchbacks for the International Horseshoe, but I think Jeppesen doing a great job just planting the car directly in the center of the circuit. No way by for Danley.
Credit to Josh. He's really been soaking this up because Britt's been keeping the pressure on, but we haven't seen that 73 make any major errors, at least on camera. And if there have been any errors, Danley's not been able to capitalize, still remaining stuck in that second position. As we check in on the battle for 8th, that's Adam Holland with Dave Douglas that I was mentioning just earlier. Dave did indeed run him down the 1 second that he needed to gain.
Yeah, I sense Adam isn't going to fight tremendously hard here. I would imagine if Douglas does get alongside, gets a good run, gets a look to the actual overtake, I don't think we're going to see too much of a fight. I think we're just going to see Adam probably give it his all up until the writing is on the wall, and then he'll say, all right, you go, boy, I'll use you for a bit of fuel saving myself.
Yeah, I agree. He's got to know that Dave being our pole sitter, he's going to be fast. So once he's got a move started, no point in trying to make life difficult for both of you, because you're just going to hold both of you up. And, well, kind of interesting then that we had the battle for first and the battle between the former pole sitter down there on the bottom for a brief while. Here we go. All right, what's Britt going to do this time? Still stay back there? Yes, indeed. No attempt down into turn 1 from the number 10 machine as we now approach the halfway mark. And last night, when that happened, we had one of the drivers, once they hit halfway, started to get aggressive after they had saved fuel almost the entire race. Will Britt be doing the same?
I think so. I mean, looking at it right now, Britt is trying to figure out the weaknesses, the chinks in the armor, might you say, of Jeppesen. You can see on that previous lap through the first corner, he went a little bit wider than he did on some other attempts. Just looking at some potential opportunities. Why not? You're not going to lose time to him. You might as well go for a bit of a look, see if it's going to potentially lead to something later, and if not, you'll catch right back up and just help yourself out. Here, though, is a look into the first corner as well. The 21 car trying to fix a move on, but doesn't quite find the light of day. Almost finds the runoff area.
Lisa Eskridge running 13th. Good race for her right now from 17th position. Whoa, that was way too wide down in the International Horseshoe from Gerwing. Dipped a wheel into the grass, and that's why that car did not turn in. But Lisa playing good defense. By the way, Anthony DiVincenzo does have a penalty for contact with the 525 car a little bit earlier on. Surround the outside for Torrigiani, but no dice, is not able to make the pass stick.
Not just yet. This is looking, though, like quite the task ahead for Lisa, as she is going to be dealing with the weight of the world on her shoulders right now. Has all of Italy behind, and then a couple other cars to join as well. Patrizio and Robbie in the background here. Still that lead fight on for now. And looking at it again, Danley trying new moves, just tucked up to the back bumper this time. Maybe looking again at any chances. And I think he's finding right now that turn 1 might not be the best shot because Jeppesen has it covered seemingly.
Yeah, but that said, I don't think we've seen real aggressive moves from Danley into there yet. There have been runs, but then those runs haven't translated into trying to show something definitive into the corner on the attack. So I feel like we haven't really seen the most out of that number 10 car and what's possible down into turn 1. I think there's still passes potentially if it's been set up right. What happened to Garamani? Cuts the Le Mans chicane there, unfortunately. But maybe that was the better decision than winding up in the tires.
That is what you call the gamer line. Definitely going to be gaining a slight advantage there, but I think he did lift off enough for the speed penalty to not have any issue as the leaders go on through the Le Mans chicane. Joe, we have hit the halfway point.
Indeed we have, which means as we take a look at DiVincenzo, what happened here? Car spins. This is where the contact was, I assume? No, doesn't look like it, just a self-spin. Car is on its way, and on we go. Andy McCune, also a replay here for the 24th placed car. Gets some big help into the wall, and that, I think, is what caused the penalty in the end. So, yes, with it being halfway, we once again want to mention that Princess Cruises is the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As we got another replay, this time Rob Gerwing. Man, some big hits here today, unfortunately. Definite damage going to be on that car. But as for our title sponsor, they're the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13. They provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships, sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. Looks like that is a penalty served for DiVincenzo. And off he goes to finish off his race, hopefully without any more interruptions, at least until he gets to his pit stop. I don't see anybody having taken their scheduled one yet out on the track, but that's usually to be expected. Like you had mentioned, Mike, we tended to not see people come in for those until at least past halfway.
Yeah, and I also mentioned there's been a large trickle of sort of pit stops where we haven't really seen a giant dash into pit lane where, for example, as I come from Assetto Corsa Competizione, and a lot of the times you'll see the drivers pretty much pitting all within 2 or mostly 2 laps of each other, sometimes 3 laps of each other. But more or less, yeah, we saw, I mean, here at Daytona, I guess it varies. Lap times at a 1:45, pretty average for the most part in the terms of racetracks. But we'll see maybe a mad dash into pit lane tonight. I'm not sure.
I have to watch and see, yeah, if they clump together a little bit. Maybe everybody trying to go as long as they can on this one instead of trying to play games. Continuing to watch that battle between Hillman and Trippett as Aubrey Ayer slides the wrong way around, coming out of turn 6. Doesn't hit anything. Boom! Things getting a little dicey there between Douglas and Holland as Douglas chops him off coming down into turn 1. Both of them going quite wide on entry, but managing to make the apex. Douglas now up to 7th position. So he and Holland must have both gained a spot when we weren't looking. That may have been DiVincenzo who took that penalty.
That would make sense. And with that, yeah, Rexy there almost taking a bite out of the back bumper of the car ahead. Very close there. Gallus just getting out by the skin of his teeth. Let's take a look at that replay. See just how close they were. You could fit a piece of paper between the two, but maybe not a credit card. Look at the beautiful racing all the way through. The Radio Shack livery to the outside. The AO racing, and there we see the nice cut in for the first corner. And the racing continuing on. Wait, where the heck is Rexy gone?
Well, that's the unfortunate thing. Douglas lost control going through the kink. Into the barrier he went, and now he's lost time once again. He didn't lose any position except the one to Holland, though. Here it is.
Here,
Go ahead.
Dave Douglas looks awfully wounded, is what I was going to say. Was that from earlier? Was that or did he pick that up recently?
I think we didn't rewind far enough, it looks like. Because, yeah, this is after the incident. So I think that's from what has just happened. Yeah, good catch on that. Because I was like, well, he shouldn't have any damage on him yet. And then I realized, no, you're right, he does. So here we go. Now we got it. Looks, yeah, and the inside curb. Interesting. Didn't know that the cars were that unsettled that they can't clip that yellow rumble strip there on the inside of the kink.
Wow, yeah, that and just devastation as well. And that's our race leader, Joshua Jeppesen, into pit lane.
First taker is the leader. Now, that's highly unusual. Douglas naturally has come in to get his car repaired and probably take his scheduled stop. Where does Josh return? Trying to make him out here. Looks like 8th place. Make that 9th now. Just got overtaken by Ed Trippett.
This is not where he wanted to come out. I think this might have been a slight miscalculation from Jeppesen. However, of course, with that, he'll be gaining a slipstream effect. But if he's quicker than the cars ahead and Danley continues to lap at the paces that he's been lapping, I'm not sure that we're going to be able to hold this position right now if we're Jeppesen.
Drivers in that you saw on the bottom of your screen: Dave Douglas, Jeff Block, DiVincenzo. Oh, Anthony got a speeding penalty, it looks like. I think, or no, did he? No, he got another penalty. Now for contact on lap 19. Wow. It has been a stark contrast to the first 3 races where penalties were something of a rarity to start out here for Series 13, but Challenge class has got a little bit of learning to do, which you'd kind of expect.
Yeah, you might be taking that black flag team name a little bit too literally, methinks. Here is Britt Danley, though, into pit lane.
All right, so this is in response to Jeppesen pitting. So where is Britt going to emerge? Jeppesen, for reference, 22.8 seconds. But remember, Josh was pushing the air for much of that, so he might naturally have a bit of a longer stop in comparison to the 10 machine, which should be getting close to being finished here. And 20.4. Yeah, that's a significant difference between the two of them. But Josh is already gone, so not sure if that was just a cleaner entry or exit or what happened here.
Yeah, significant. He has left him in the dust practically, nowhere even in sight. Now, just exiting pit lane is Danley, and Jeppesen, 8 seconds up the road?
Yeah. Wow. So I'm looking cone to cone time. Danley was quicker by 3 seconds.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think, maybe Danley, because I'm watching the entry on my end, and it does look like Danley maybe braked a little early. Yeah, it was a little slow, but I wouldn't say 8 seconds slow. That's crazy.
Yeah, and you mentioned the fact that Danley was also faster in pit lane stationary and faster out of pit lane as well, as what I'm seeing. So how that happened is baffling, to be completely honest. We'll see, obviously, come race end, if we do get the opportunity to interview them. Well, I think we both know what questions we're going to be asking.
Yeah, and I guess maybe a note on Britt is to practice the pit entries, unless there was something that we missed, that there maybe was a spin or something in there. In the meantime, on board with Kulos, chasing Lisa Eskridge, who has jumped up into the top 10, but Lisa has not pit yet. She still owes us a stop.
And being a bit of a back marker is going to be, I think, or is that, who is behind them? Is that going to be Pallison? I think it is. And we'll see everybody pretty much stopping probably in the next 2 laps or so. So I definitely expect everyone to make that final stop. We mentioned it before. It was within the 30 to 20 minute mark pretty much consistently through. And here is going to be Nye coming back out onto track behind Hales. And the question is, what is going to be the gap to the cars around here? He's going to be coming out in traffic.
Johan Nye started this one on the front row. In fact, he's coming out behind Lisa Eskridge. So she got out of that battle and now has another battle on track. Granted, not with a car that is on the same strategy. She's all the way up to 6th now. Curious where she will emerge after this one. By the way, I got a chance to go back and check on my replay, and I did not see Danley have any sort of spin or major off track or anything on the lap coming in. So it as far as we can tell, then that means it's got to be something with either pit entry or exit.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of that one, to be completely honest. The gap still remaining around that 9-second mark as well. So Danley maybe lost a bit of hope on that one. The pace last time around was pretty much dead even, about a tenth quicker, or give or take, on the previous. No, because Jepson just came out. Excuse me. I'm looking at the best laps. That is my apologies. But Alan Hales, though, 6.2 off of the back. The front pack here seemingly forming a bit of a buffer for right now. But when it comes to Johan Nye, as well as Lisa Eskridge, these two definitely hard pressed to, well, hopefully no love lost between the two, as I would imagine Lisa will pit this lap.
Now, when Johan gets this position from Lisa, there's Rob Gerwing spinning in the inside of turn 6. Johan will be 6th position. That still seems farther down than the 4. Well, I guess 5th, because, yeah, George Poulos looks like he is just pitted as well. Okay, so that makes more sense now. 5th position seems a little bit more likely, because Johan was in 4th before, but must have lost a lot of time to Alan Hales, because it's nearly 6 seconds between himself and P4. So Johan Nye may have been quick in qualifying, but unfortunately his racing still needs a little bit of work.
Yeah, unfortunately. So this is a battle that was going on before we entered pit lane, and it continues to roll on. Adam Holland and Dave Douglas, the man that started on the top. Dave Douglas, he plummeted down to 11th place early on, and since then has had a decent recovery drive, making himself up to 8th. However, this is not good enough for him. He wants 7th. Heck, he wants the top 3. But right now, you got to go for the micro objectives. Just prioritize the road ahead of you, and right now that road is occupied by a dinosaur livery.
And remember, Dave had that spin and that big incident with the wall. So yes, he took the free repair, but he still would have lost somewhere, roughly around 10 seconds with being off track like that. So he's done a really good job catching back up to Adam Holland to fight for the 7th place. George Poulos, another one with a black flag, unfortunately. I think this might be his 2nd or 3rd already. I've kind of lost count of who all has had black flags and how many at this stage.
Yeah, as you mentioned, a little bit of cleanup to be done for the Challenge League, but that is to be expected with the 4 different categories. Of course, you do expect a little bit of learning to happen out on track, and that's what we all are here for, of course. It's all about a good time and just learning how to race out on circuit, getting used to each other, as well as, of course, these drivers are going to be battling each other for the foreseeable future if they do rise the ranks up into the other categories, up into sport, up through club and into pro. We got a long ways to go, but right now, look at this side by side. I think this is Douglas, excuse me, not getting the move done. I was almost sure he was going to make that work, but has to back out. The road just falls away through the first corner.
Yeah, so hard to try and make that pass the long way around through turn 1. I'm sure he'll try again later. Looks like he's got the pace over the Rexy machine, so should have opportunities out there. The drivers that have made the most up, though, so far, Adam Holland up 13. Poulos would have been up 10, but he's serving that black flag. Andy McCune was kind of lucky that car slid out just beyond where the tire barrier is on the outside of turn 6.
Counting his lucky stars, and thankfully only 16 and a half minutes left before he has to go in and change his racing trousers, because that he is definitely testing the structural fortitude of.
Yeah, so as he carries on, yeah, there it is. McCune had maybe about a foot to spare between himself and the wall there, so he got away with it in the end. So it seems like Douglas still isn't by. Let's see what kind of launch he gets off of the chicane.
And a very solid one at that. Looks like Holland there going to be getting pretty much gone after that. Douglas, though, in the background, just having to, well, not make a move this time is what it looks like. However, in towards the banking, or on the exit now, I should say, of the banking, and in towards the tri-oval itself. Awfully close, to be honest here. The inside line, though, not going to be allowed open. The road, we know, will fall away. However, Douglas has gotten himself placed quite firmly in a good spot, but no. Holland, the defensive masterclass, he defends.
I was worried at first that Douglas wouldn't make the corner, and then that the two would run into one another when maybe Holland, I thought, was going to track out, but they held their line, didn't come together. But poor Douglas has not been able to get that pass done still. Ooh, and I was about to go to an ad read, but I got to hold off for a second here because these two won't let me get it in. And Dave Douglas trying it into the Western Horseshoe this time. Still nothing doing for him, but he's trying to get unorthodox, passing in some places you don't see nearly as often. All right, now I think we got an opportunity with it being a straight line. We're thrilled to have Princess Cruises as the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships, sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. And it's now the final quarter of this race. No wonder Dave is trying everything he can to get around. He knows he's only got so many chances left to at least get to 7th, and even once he does that, it's 9 seconds to Glaze ahead of him.
Yeah, and he's trying everything he can. In fact, on this lap, he went for the fast in, slow out approach in the Le Mans chicane. Now, he does have a slipstream, which will help out the time loss for that, but that's not going to help him gaining any forms of lap time. Into the first corner they go, and this is the furthest we've seen the two into the first corner from the past 3 laps at a solid 1/10 of a second. So, yeah, absolutely love to see the fact these two are at each other's throat. No love lost between the pair of them, and I would imagine this is a fight to expect throughout the entirety of this championship. Looking at back down to the VR driver, though, of Ed Trippett, currently running in 10th position. He is looking at pretty much a gap solid to front and back, about 6 seconds.
Yeah, he's going to have a lonely end of this race, most likely. Might not be just a pair. I think 3's company here pretty soon, because that is Hillman behind them in the number 9 that is quickly approaching. And the more that Douglas and Holland battle, the more that gives opportunities for Andrew to become a factor in this.
Now, by the end of this one, if Adam Holland can defend from Dave Douglas for the next 13 minutes, we're going to have to call him the 8th wonder of the world, the Great Wall of Holland.
Yeah, it's been a great defense. Ooh, strong into the Le Mans chicane there from Dave Douglas. But like you mentioned earlier, you kind of want to be strong out instead. And it did kind of bite him. He was not as close as you would expect, but he's got the slipstream, and he's starting to reel him in once more.
I'm going to wash slightly wide onto the banking, though. He's trying to take just a different line regardless. He doesn't want to break that slipstream, though, and here now committing to the outside line firmly. We've seen this once, we've seen it twice. Is it going to be 3 times? Counting? It's contact at the apex. Both drivers getting into the mix, and unfortunately the bumper there again of the 42 has found itself on circuit.
And Hillman breezes by, picking up 2 spots out of that incident. That was big damage for Douglas, hitting the front of that car. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get to the end. Need to check. No, I don't see a mechanical black and orange flag for him, so he won't be forced to pit in, but I wouldn't want to try and drive that thing around after a hit that thorough into the inside barrier, and this was definitely from contact. There you see it right there. And just wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the third time is not the one that counts, it turns out. Adam Holland, though, looking to make it to the checkered flag. I don't think he got too much damage on that Porsche. It looks fairly showroom ready, but regardless, dropping that position to Hillman, not where he wanted to find himself, and certainly not wanting to be sent on. And there is the onboard from Holland's perspective. What do you make of that one, Joe?
You know, I was actually going to ask you, because that might be a little bit of a tricky call. I think they're probably going to give a penalty to Holland here, but he could argue that that Douglas chopped down on him. You know, where was he going to go in that situation? That'll be fascinating to see which way the stewards swing on that contact, or if they just consider it a racing incident.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did, because I'll be honest, in my personal opinion, which is just that, I would even be leaning towards Holland's side. However, the angles that we were seeing were not sufficient, in my opinion. I'd need to see a couple more angles, break it down from the top down the onboard, and that's, of course, not our job, Joe. That's the steward's job, and I don't envy them for this one.
Well, they made a quick decision. Holland gets the penalty on this one, so he will fall back down the order. He was our hard charger. He might still be after this. But his gain of 12 is going to be shrunk significantly. In the background, you could see Douglas actually under attack from Arthur Schwartz. Actually, that's not for position, pardon me. So it's just Schwartz trying not to get in the way of Douglas, it looks like. But Hillman got by both of them, and soon he won't have either of them in his mirrors, because Holland has caught him, but he's going to have to duck off into pit lane before these next 9 minutes are up. Here's another look. All right. Tell me what you're thinking here, Mike.
Let's break it down here. So Holland getting the inside here. He's broke early. He understeers at the apex. I mean, from that angle, absolutely. I do not see how you could put it any other way. Douglas had not the move done, but he certainly had the line and had earned it. Now, did he leave enough space? Sure, yeah, I think so. I think the stewards there, let's give a round of applause to our stewards for making such a quick decision, and what I thought was going to be quite a difficult one. But honestly, that camera angle really shows the whole story. Yeah,
it does. Really gave a new enlightenment on it. So less than 10 minutes to go, and we're following Holland around turns NASCAR 3 and 4. This is where the pit entry is. Will he take it now? Yep. He knows he can't argue that one. He's going to duck in as we come back to our leader. Well, ever since we had our strange pit cycle between Danley and Jeppesen, it's not changed. It's still at 8 seconds between the pair of them. And Josh has just been kind of ticking the laps over and looking for the checkered flag, which will be coming sooner rather than later, and starting off his season in quite an excellent way.
Yeah, he really is definitely it's one to write home about for certain, because the pit incidents, as we said, I don't think either of us have any idea what the heck went on there. We'll have to find out shortly, as it looks like we will get the chance, maybe. Of course, still anything can happen in racing, and it normally does, but Joshua Jeppesen looking like he's going to cruise home to a solid victory here tonight with just 8 minutes left. Britt Danley would have to close up 1 second per lap, and even if he did, we all know that it's one thing to catch, it's certainly another to overtake.
What if we could give some love in a moment here as we're watching the battle for 12th between Block and Holland. Holland having just served his penalty. Some love to Antonio Da Silva, because I don't think he's hardly gotten any screen time, and it's no wonder. He's been on his lonesome, but he's going to come home with a podium if things stay as they are. So sometimes I feel like these quiet, sort of unassuming runs need a little bit more congratulations and pat on the back, because that's a well-run race to fly under the radar and get yourself with the top 3.
It really is, and I think I mentioned it briefly earlier before I was rudely interrupted by an epic battle, but yeah, Antonio Da Silva, the dark horse of tonight, he started in 7th position, and I think it was on lap 3, if I'm not mistaken, or lap 2, that he managed to claw his way onto, I think it was 4th, and then later on just inherited the bottom step of the podium after dramas. He has just done calm, cool, collected, and just plucked away at the lap times with a consistent lap. In fact, this is actually a great stat here. His fastest lap time, a 1:46.13. His previous lap, a 1:46.17. That just goes to show you how consistent that man is.
Yeah, that's a really good job on that. Arthur Schwartz, oh no. Oh, and another car that looked like coming out of the kink that just could not get it woed up in time, unfortunately. So big hit into the Armco. We saw Kevin Hammond come in to pit lane. I believe that's should be the final stop. I think Kevin may have been one of the cars that pitted very early, either due to some damage or something else. Was outside the pit window. And when you have to take an extra stop, because really it's just a one-stop race for everybody if everything goes right. And does it go wrong for Lisa? Yes, it does. 75 losing it coming out of the bus stop.
Unfortunate. She's made her pit stop. They've made their pit stop there at the end, though, so will be green to go to the end. Thankfully, no damage to be inherited for them. Now, though, looking at the battle between Toriani and Trippett. So Trippett finally has found another bit of a playmate here. It's been a while, I think, since we've seen him on screen.
Both these cars have had an up and down day, that is for sure. And Patrizio with 9th place. Ed just within the top 10, trying to see if he can improve upon that here in the next 5 minutes left on the timer. He's not quite close enough coming onto the tri-oval. He'll need to maybe catch up through the infield, see if he can use the slipstream next time by.
And with that, let's see. And of course, any mistakes could happen here. Just keeping an eye on the lines as we see such a wide berth there from Toriani. Maybe just maintenance. Okay, well, talk about wide lines. Ed Trippett there making me eat my words. He goes off circuit there momentarily.
Yeah, as what we're watching. Oh, that's a live battle actually down there on Jeff Block and Adam Holland. Holland still up 8 positions from where he started this race. Still the hardest charger? Yes, indeed he is. So it's not as big of a gap to the next farthest down of the hard chargers than it is here. And it doesn't mean anything other than just a feather in your cap in this series. But he's still doing a good job considering he's had to deal with some penalties out there. And we have to remember that he probably has a bit of damage after that contact too.
The thing that I've learned from this race tonight is that Adam Holland is not a driver to mess with. He is a man on a mission, and he will not take no for any answer whatsoever. You can knock him down, you can hit him off the horse, he'll get right back on the saddle. He will pick himself up by the bootstraps immediately, and here he goes onto the inside of, is this the Le Mans chicane, or are we heading down towards the first corner? Either way, it's going to be done before corner entry, and it is the Le Mans chicane. Jeffrey Block, not much he really could have done.
Both of them going very deep into that corner, though. So Andy McCune, in the meantime, a little farther back with a nice battle. Or no, this is a replay, excuse me. Goes off at that same chicane. And thankfully does not wind up in the tires there on the left-hand side, that so many have found themselves easily doing. Block versus Holland, ongoing. Holland round the outside, Block to the inside. He goes as deep as he can. Holland sends it into there. Both of them are going to go way wide at the apex, but it works out better for Adam Holland. He gets back into 11th.
Like a dinosaur on the hunt for a meal, he has managed to find the tasty morsels and then drive himself off the circuit and hand the position right back! Exclamation mark. Commentators curse on that one.
Yeah, looks like the chicken leg fell out of his mouth on that one, as looks like we got 2 laps to go, and Jeppesen just across the start-finish line. Woo! Jack Stevenson. Oh, and was that Block that he got into there?
No, I don't think so.
Another car with a similar paint, maybe?
Yeah, I'm not sure who that was, but Block and Holland, I think, are still going at it right now, so I don't think that's either of them.
Interesting. So, I'll try and find who else has that paint out there, but I'm not seeing. Odd. Well, regardless, we got another penalty. George Janellis in the 5.58. So we're not out of the woods yet, despite having a lap and a half to go here on the clock. And we follow Adam Holland as he has lost touch with Jeffrey Block. It's about 2 seconds now between them. George Janellis goes a little too far into the corner, loses control, makes the contact, and that's what sent one of our other cars that we were seeing the replay earlier, I think, going off there. Maybe I'd missed that part of the replay. So 2 to go signal for Holland as he crosses the line. And then we're getting ready for that white flag for Josh Jeppesen, who's just out of the bus stop chicane now.
And he will be taking that with arms wide open. Jeppesen has done everything that he needs to in this race, barring finding pole position, which he didn't really need, of course. Unfortunately, early on, Dave Douglas handed over the lead to, well, he was going to hand it over to Danley. However, Jeppesen with a incredible send. Just what a move that he had to make to get in there as well. Opportunistic as ever. And ever since then, he has walked away smiling with the potential victory at hand. And looking at the white flag, he will have one more time round this circuit, and barring any backmarker calamity, he'll take the checkered flag first.
Yeah, up from 5th on the grid. That was great stuff at the start of this race to position himself where he needed to be. Didn't get any wins in Series 12, so this has been a long time coming for him to get up to the front and take a victory. Meanwhile, we were watching De Silva for a little bit there. I don't think he's completely out of the woods. He's got only about a second and a half to Alan Hales, so he has to be nice and clean and tidy in this last lap, or else any mistake could open the door for Alan to catch and go on the attack.
Hopefully he brought enough fuel. Just knock on wood for that. Of course, we're only talking about previous incidents that have happened. Alan Hales will be probably keeping that in the back of his mind. However, he knows how much fuel he has. Oh, DiVincenzo with a devastating blow to the barrier on the exit of the Le Mans chicane. Just too hot to handle.
And he's also got another black flag.
Oh, no.
Wow, absolutely bizarre stuff. This is going to be a novel's worth for his race at the end. But Josh Jeppesen, it was a book in the first half, but unfortunately, well, more fortunate for him, a snoozer for him in the second half, as they separated after the pit stops, and the 73 waltzed away with it to take the win in the opening round of Series 13. Danley mysteriously 8 seconds, almost 8 seconds back, coming to the line here, but still a second place. Britt should be proud. And then De Silva, it's going to be close, trying to finish this one in third, but Hales, I think, was too little, too late. Look at that. Distance going to be about 0.18 of a second between them at the line.
Nice tight margins down to the wire. Behind them, we're going to see Johan Nye finishing in 5th with Robert Gellis in 6th. Andrew Hillman looking at 7th position for his efforts tonight. Dave Douglas taking home 8th with Toriani behind in 9th, and then Trippets securing himself in the top 10 ahead of Jeffrey Block.
Man, it's been a pretty miserable day for the front row. Second place finished in 5th, and first place finished in 8th position. Just kind of one to forget for both of them. Great opportunities on the plate as the fireworks go off here at Daytona. And the last of the cars crossed the line. This one not seen as quite as many on the lead lap, since there were so many issues out on track, as only 15 are going to complete all 34 laps out there today, and a number of them winding up a lap down. I think we only had about 2 DNFs though. DiVincenzo, one of them right at the end, and then McCune maybe one of the other ones. Ooh, this is going to be close as to who's last on the lead lap. Garamani versus Hammond. They're going to bang doors, but it is going to be, it looks like Garamani. Nope, Hammond is going to take it away in the end by 17 hundredths of a second between them. I bet they're grinning after that one. Josh Jeppesen, how about that win of almost 8 seconds after 60 minutes, with Britt Danley finishing P2 and Antonio De Silva sneaking through in the end, just barely into third position. Alan Hale's going to be in P4, while Johan Nye finishes in 5th spot. After that, Robert Gallais, P6. Andrew Hillman, nice gain from 12th to 7th. Dave Douglas, opposite direction, 1st to 8th. Patrizio Torregiani from 13th to 9th in his first race here. And then 10th goes to Edward Trippett.
On to 11th, Jeffrey Block taking home P11, and Adam Holland alongside in 12th. Aubrey Iyer along them for 13th position, with Kevin Hammond taking home 14th for his efforts. Jim Germani in P15 with 16th. My apologies. Kevin Hammond in 15th. George Paulus in 16th. Lisa Erickson, Eric Ridge in 17th. George Janellis 18th. Anthony DiVincenzo in 19th, and Carl Bess in 20th.
And the last couple cars, 21st goes to Schwartz, with Gerwing 22nd, as we said. DiVincenzo, a DNF along with McCune at the back of the field. Just giving it a moment to see if we can get to talk to our winning drivers. I'm sure they're celebrating, especially Jeppesen. As I said, no wins in Series 12, and suddenly comes out and opens Series 13 with a victory here at a track where almost everybody always wants to win. Daytona, a big one on the list for drivers. Looks like he has now joined us as he's finished spraying the champagne. Let's have a chat with Josh Jeppesen about this victory. Josh, congratulations. You started from 5th. You made moves early on, and as soon as Dave Douglas had his spin, it was basically no looking back, it looked like, for you.
I think we lost him there.
Well, you were right. Not sure what happened here. Let's pull him in, see if we can get him chatting. Josh, this is Joe up in the booth. Do you have a copy?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
It's all good. We got you loud and clear now. So I was saying that you made all your moves essentially on lap 1 to get yourself in the right position, because once Douglas spun away, it was wide open for you up front.
Yeah, the car felt a lot different than it normally does for me. Normally, I'm able to use traction control, so the car the whole entire race felt really off. So I felt like I was a lot slower than I normally am, but I don't know. I just raced, I tried to race as clean as I possibly could and be consistent.
Now, we were watching Britt staying in your slipstream and following along. It didn't look like they were trying to attack at any point, but we figured there would be some fuel saving. Were you surprised after the pit stops that Britt was nowhere to be seen?
I felt like my pit lasted a little bit long. I think I took it a little bit earlier than I was expecting to take it, but it took a little bit longer than I thought it was. Coming out, I just didn't want to get tangled up with anybody, and I don't know. I was just, I was pretty much just focused on straight ahead, looking forward. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. You got to focus on your race and can't really worry about the others too much. But that worked out for you. Your first win of Series 13. You didn't take a single one in Series 12. Is this kind of a great monkey off your back?
Sort of. I mean, I did very well in the summer tour, but last season was just a complete throwaway. I had technical issues. I switched to VR. I went to triple screens. Just a lot of, just racing,
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's plenty to smile about now then. Congratulations on the victory.
Yep, thank you.
Josh Jeppesen taking home the win in the challenge class, and that's followed up by Britt Danley. It looks like Mike's going to try and clear up what happened in that pit stop.
Yes, indeed. Britt Danley, first off, do we have a copy? Awesome. Britt, first off, amazing race. Seeing out there on track, battling with the best Dave Douglas at the start of this race. Now, of course, that turned quite quickly. What was your reaction when you saw Dave spin in front of you?
Well, there really wasn't much time to react. I had to slow down immediately and just get around him, really. I mean, I thought, wow.
Yeah, pretty much. And of course, getting by him, getting by not just you and you and Douglas was, of course, Jeppesen. Now, did you expect him to be as quick as he was throughout that first sector? You guys were very evenly matched in stint 1, but then stint 2, what exactly happened?
On the on the back half of the track, I guess I went off track a little bit. I hit the curb, took a little too much curbing. But no, I wasn't surprised at how fast Joshua was. He's always fast. So I was hoping to stay behind him until the end of the race and make a move at that time, but I kind of outsmarted myself.
Gotcha. Fair enough. We were wondering about that because we were trying to figure out what the heck happened because you were quicker in pit lane than Jeppesen. So when we saw you guys go into pit lane, where when Jeppesen went in initially, you guys were pretty much heel and stern locked together, but then it was an 8-second gap at the end. So it was due to you overcooking it there slightly in the chicane. That's what cost it.
Yeah, well, right before the chicane, I just, I went off track pretty significantly.
Gotcha. Well, on that, of course, we do have Portimao next week. Now, of course, a P2 result is nothing to shake a stick at whatsoever. How are you looking forward as we get ready to head over to Portugal?
I am looking forward to that track. It looks very, very difficult and very challenging, but yeah, I'm looking forward to getting better on it.
Lovely. Well, with that, folks, that's going to be Britt Daniels, your P2, or Britt Danley, excuse me, my apologies, your P2 finisher here for tonight.
Looks like we won't get to chat with De Silva, unfortunately, not see him hang around. So we're going to close it out with a big thank you to the PCA. Like you heard us mentioning, next time it's going to be at Algarve at Portimao, and that'll be for January 30th. For our challenge class. We'll be there for the other 3 classes before that. And in fact, we'll be back Wednesday night, January 22nd, for our pro class to start things off in Portugal. Big thank you to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing, as well as to our team tonight, Ramiro and Mike. Also, thank you so much to you for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing. I'm Joe Peak, and until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.